Hey there, friends. How's it going? Today we're going to get to work on one of the last boss manipulations I have left to do, and that is Deoxys. So as always, I'm going to explain a couple things real quick, but what's going to be special about this boss manipulation is, aside from the normal recruitment manipulation, I'm also going to demonstrate the route I have set up to use the HP exploit for bosses, and that will get you a 950 health Deoxys if you want to use that exploit. So it's basically untouchable if you decide to go through that route. Along with having 950 health, the health regeneration also scales up. So it heals about 5 HP a turn or something ridiculous like that. So I'll get to that all later in the dungeon while we're going through that. But for now, let's go through real quick what Pokemon we're using. As you can see, it's Articuno, but it's a very particular Articuno. In fact, it's the Articuno... It's just fresh out of being recruited. I haven't gone through any dungeons or anything like that. It hasn't gained any experience. It has a very particular move pool as well. So it has Powder Snow, Agility, Ice Beam, and Gust move pool. Move set rather. And you can get these all just by remembering his moves from Gulpin at the link shop down in town. This is important because these are just obviously the most optimal moves to use in the dungeon. You don't really need Mist or anything of that sort to accompany you while you're playing through Meteor Cave. As for our items, we have a couple. First, we need the Friend Bow, obviously, because Deoxys has a -10 recruitment percentage, and Articuno only has as a level 50 and above Pokemon between level 50 and 60. It only gets +10 as a recruitment bonus, so that means we have a 0% chance of recruiting Deoxys without this Friend Bow. So that's why this is necessary. We have the X-ray specs, so we can generally see where Deoxys is. We're going to use this for most of the dungeon. We actually equip the Friend Bow during the boss fight as a part of the manipulation. So the X-ray specs will particularly help us on the first floor of the dungeon where we don't know where Deoxys is. That's where it's most important, but generally throughout the rest of the dungeon, it'll sort of help you see how Deoxys is responding to your movements. Because the notes in the manipulation aren't very intuitive rather. And it should help you sort of understand how things are working. We have this Reviver Seed, obviously, to use the health exploit for the boss. You can't do that without a Reviver Seed. And then last, we have a Max Elixir, because we have to deal with 20 floors of a Pokemon that knows pressure, or has pressure as its ability, which is incredibly obnoxious, especially since we need to fight the final boss, Deoxys, twice, which means basically burning like 1900 health points. So this is very important. So since we can only bring 3 items into the dungeon, we need to give the X-ray specs to Articuno before we enter. But yeah, now that is all out of the way, we can go straight into the dungeon. Thankfully, one good thing about this dungeon is it's not a quick save dungeon. So if things don't go well on the first floor, and you don't find Deoxys quickly enough, you can easily just restart if your belly gets too low. That's one of the cool things about this dungeon. So just save before you go in. You might want to restart a couple times just to get the best results, because you could run into problems later on if you take too long on the first floor with belly. But ideally that won't happen. So I just got the quick save out of the way there. It doesn't really matter when you quick save as long as you quick save on the floor somewhere. So I just decided to do it there. Deal with this speed form Deoxys. So yeah, as I was about to get into, quick saving is a huge part of this dungeon, actually. It's incredibly annoying how much we have to quick save, but it's very important for just generally making sure the dungeon goes as well as possible. One big thing we try to do with our quick saving is make it so there's no defense form Deoxys that spawn, as these things are incredibly hard to defeat. It takes about 2 of our moves, in fact, and seeing that we have to deal with Deoxys twice for the final boss, it's very important that we have a good amount of power points to work with. So that's one of the big things, is avoiding defense form Deoxys and just getting all the other forms, which are very easy to deal with this manipulation. So we're going to use Agility. If we don't, we just run into this Deoxys, and it uses Wrap against us. You don't need to use Agility, this is just faster. You'll be perfectly fine if you don't. It's just a little optimization I found yesterday, and it doesn't really waste too much time. So here's a good example of why we have the X-ray specs. You can just sort of see how Deoxys moves throughout the dungeon, and see when he'll enter the floor where you are, which is helpful for people just reading through the notes who haven't much of an idea, because it's kind of cryptic in some places, I'll be honest, given that I've spent so much time routing this stuff out. It's more in stuff that I can understand as shorthand rather than like actual legibility. So here we're just waiting again for Deoxys to show up. We'll wait for him to attack us, and then we'll go into Gust him. Gust is a pretty useful move for this. That's why we relearn it, actually, because Deoxys typically does not have Gust as a main part of its moveset. But it's very useful for dispersing these Mirage forms of Deoxys. It has a lot of power points, so it's very useful in that regard. So yeah, we just did our next quick save. This will be we won't need a quick save for about 3 floors. So this is a little reprieve from doing all that nonsense. But later on we will need to use it quite a bit. But you'll see why. It's actually very interesting. We get into sort of a loop, and you'll see what I'm talking about when we get to that. I don't want to spoil the surprise, so to say. So there we just sort of straight off path a little bit, but I think it turned out fine. We just need to run back up here and go to the stairs. See, that wasn't too bad. Just a little movement error, but yeah, that attack form Deoxys can be a little bit scary sometimes, given that it knows superpower and it does like half our health, but it's not too much of a problem unless it crits, obviously. Then it is very much a problem. But other than that, I don't think that typically happens too much. So I guess another thing I can talk about is the glitch we're going to be doing itself for the second part of the recruitment manipulation, after just the basic recruitment. Is essentially if you use if a boss uses a reviver seed to revive itself, obviously after battle, what you're going to end up recruiting is a version of the boss that you're fighting. So how to put this easily? You're basically recruiting the version of the boss that you've fought, which means you're recruiting something that has, in our case, 950 health, which is absolutely absurd. That's really all there is to the glitch. We don't really particularly understand the rhyme or reason to it. However, we just know that if a boss uses a reviver seed during a fight, and then you recruit the boss a second time after you've defeated it, or not recruited a second time, you know what I mean. It will lead to a version of the boss that is extremely overpowered. So yeah, we need a quick save again on this floor, not dungeon options. There we go. But yeah, if that's not at all clear, by all means, feel free to leave a question in the comments, and I'll try my best to answer it. I don't fully understand it myself, so apologies for my convoluted explanation of it. Alright, so from here on, we are quick saving pretty much every floor. I want you to pay very, very close attention to the dungeon layout for next floor, because you'll be seeing it quite a bit. It turns out that these next floors are all the same as long as you quick save on each playthrough of the floor. So this floor right here, floor 12, we are going to be doing the same moves for the next, 7 floors? Sorry, I cannot count today, it seems. So everything's going to play out exactly the same. The one thing we will need to worry about after time is running out of power points. However, that's why we have the max elixir, is for these floors in particular. That way we have a consistent amount of PP going into the final Deoxys fight. And we're going to end up using it, I believe, on the 14th floor? Yeah, that's what it says here in the notes. But yeah, before then we're fine. So yeah, this is all we're doing for the next God knows how many floors, is just dealing with this Deoxys over and over again. We don't really know why it's this same floor layout either. This is another very cryptic thing about this dungeon. that the default floor layout after we quicksave is just the same floor. So if you have any inkling as to why that may be, please let me know in the comments. I'd be really interested to find out more about that. Alright, so this is the 14th floor. That means we're going to be using our max elixir here after we gust this Deoxys. And again, this is just for the sake of consistency. And we're quick saving again. What a surprise by now. Sorry, I've sort of run out of things to talk about, and the next floors are probably the most boring in the dungeon since they're all the same. So apologies for that. Just a couple more times, though. We're almost done. To make things quicker, I'll just quick save here. It won't make things quicker, but it'll help us move along, since we'll be moving more in a row, I suppose. I don't know. Continue on here. And you guessed it, same moves. Gust. And we're out. Quick save again. Just a couple more floors, and then we will be at the actual fight. The actual fight itself, there's a lot of moves that go into it, but as long as you follow the steps to a T, you'll be perfectly fine. There's nothing to worry about with that. And speaking of that, I have done a very poor job of talking about this, but there are dungeon notes in the description of each of the videos I do on these manipulations, and you are heavily encouraged for the best results to follow those notes. Because I know a lot of people just follow the video, and for this, that might be a little confusing for this fight. But whatever works best for you, I encourage you to do that. If you find it easier to follow the video along, then by all means. But just be aware that I have dungeon notes available in the description of the video, and you are more than welcome to use them. Alrighty, so this is actually the last quick save we're going to be doing. We don't quick save on the next floor, because there's no need to, since the 20th floor is the actual Deoxys fight itself. So there's really not too much to that. But yeah, we are almost there. This is definitely one of the more boring dungeons in the game, just because there's nothing else to do aside from defeat Deoxys and then go on to the next floor. Alright, but here we go. So I'm going to set a restore point at the start of this fight, just to demonstrate the different routes. The first route I'm going to be doing is the basic recruitment route, which is just recruiting Deoxys without the HP exploit. So I'm going to make sure here I don't move at all, so it doesn't ruin the manipulation. Alright, so using the Wii U, I'm going to set a restore point right here so I can go back to that and demonstrate that later. Alright, so first we're going to use Agility. Ice Beam twice. Move back a step. Then we're going to use Gust 4 times. Now that we've used Gust 4 times, it is low HP. That means we can take it out with a basic attack. However, first we need to equip our friend bow. So we're going to do that real quick. Then we're going to move down, up. It'll use Psychic, however, it will miss, and then basic attack. And just like that, we've recruited Deoxys. But we're not stopping here. We are going to do the HP glitch, and I'll demonstrate that as well. So yeah, if you just want regular Deoxys, this is the way to go. It's very quick and easy. Then you'll have the Reviver Seed as backup. But now, however, we are going to take a look at what goes into recruiting this 950 health monster. And it's not too much more difficult. It's basically just doing the fight an extra time. So same thing. It's basically the same up until we equip the friend bow. So same old, use the Ice Beam move twice. The Ice Beam move. Oh gosh. Then we'll move back, and then we'll use Gust 4 times. Alright, now that it's used cosmic power, we are going to equip the friend bow. So same as before. Now this is where things start to diverge. So it's just use psychic. We are now going to place the reviver seed on the ground. This is so Deoxys can pick it up, and then we can execute the glitch. So now we're going to move down. It has picked up the reviver seed, so we know we've done right. And now we are going to use agility, basic attack. We've just defeated it for the first time, so now we need to go about defeating it a second time. So we're going to move down, look up. We're going to use Ice Beam twice again. Now we're going to use agility, powder snow. Now this is interesting. If we would have powder snow next turn, it would freeze Deoxys. So instead we're going to use gust to avoid that. So it's going to basic attack us. We're going to use agility again, and then we're going to powder snow twice, and then basic attack, and we are done. And basic attack. And hey, it worked. So I'll demonstrate this real quick because you can't see my second screen, but this Deoxys has 950 health. So I'll go into Tiny Woods real quick and demonstrate that real quick. And you'll see it's very neat. I could just show the stats, but that's no fun. So yeah, that's the dungeon complete. So now I'll just demonstrate the 950 health Deoxys we have. I don't know why I sorted it like that. Now it's just going to be harder to find. There he is. Make him the leader here real quick. And we'll just let Articuno go. So yeah, let's go through Tiny Woods and whale on some wormholes. So yeah, as you can see, it has 950 health points, and again, that's because we used the Reviver Seed in recruiting it. So yep, that's really all I have for this video. I'm gonna play through Tiny Woods here, I suppose. I don't need to do that. I've already demonstrated this enough, I think. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, friends. It really means a lot to me. We're getting really close to 400 subscribers, and I'm super excited about that. So please remember to like and leave a comment. I would love to discuss this more with you guys in the comments. And also feel free to join my Discord channel. I would love to talk with you guys there as well. And yeah, I think that's all I've got. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.